The dragon refused to land. "I'm telling you, that signal is wrong," it muttered, wings cutting through the thin starlit haze as the broken vessel drifted below them like a forgotten thought. "Not dangerous wrong, annoying wrong. Like a song that almost makes sense. You say that about everything," the man replied, leaning forward in the saddle, squinting at the ship's fractured hull. "You said that about the last station, and that was just a cafeteria with bad soup. It was offensively bad soup." He guided the dragon lower anyway. The stars hung unnaturally still around the wreck, as if space itself was holding its breath. The man noticed it, then quickly decided not to notice it too much. Thinking too hard about silence in space tended to invite problems. They circled once. The ship didn't respond, didn't scan, didn't even pretend to exist properly. Its lights flickered in patterns that didn't repeat. The dragon exhaled a thin stream of smoke, unimpressed. "If something jumps out and eats you," it said, "I will absolutely tell people I warned you." Repeatedly. "You'd miss me. I would miss arguing with you. Not the same thing." He smiled despite himself and brought them alongside the fractured docking ridge. Metal groaned softly as his boots touched the surface. The dragon stayed close, claws gripping the hull with casual menace. Inside, the air was thin but breathable, carrying that sterile, abandoned scent that always meant something had gone very wrong. He moved carefully, hand resting near the small pulse weapon at his side, though he knew it would be useless against anything truly interesting. "Still think this is a bad idea?" he whispered. "Yes," the dragon replied immediately, "but now I am also curious which is worse." They found her in the central chamber, seated as if she had been waiting for an audience that had arrived terribly late. At first glance, she looked human, calm, composed, entirely out of place. Then she turned her head, and the long, elegant curve of her ears caught the dim light. The man blinked. "Well, that's new." She studied him with an expression that hovered somewhere between amusement and mild disappointment. "You took your time. I like to make an entrance. You crashed into the docking ring." He paused. That was a calculated approach. Behind him, the dragon snorted. He tripped over space. Her lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close enough to make something shift in the room. Or maybe it was the lights. No, the lights had shifted. They flickered backward for a fraction of a second, like a mistake correcting itself. He frowned. "Did you see?" "Yes," the dragon said. "I am now officially uncomfortable." The woman stood slowly. The air seemed to hesitate around her, stretching thin before settling again. "You shouldn't be here," she said, though her tone lacked urgency. "That's usually when I decide to stay," he replied. "Of course you do." A distant pulse echoed through the ship, low and deliberate. Not from within, but from far beyond, like something knocking on the edges of reality itself. The man felt it in his chest more than he heard it. The dragon lifted its head sharply. "That," it said, "is not soup." The woman closed her eyes briefly, as if counting something invisible. When she opened them again, there was a flicker of something deeper, calculation, or perhaps regret. "They're close," she said. "Who?" She looked directly at him, and for a moment, everything felt slightly out of order, like his next breath had already happened somewhere else. "The ones who don't like it when time misbehaves." The dragon shifted, wings tightening. "I don't like that description." He hesitated, then laughed softly, because that was easier than admitting the unease creeping up his spine. "Well, lucky for you, we're very good at leaving before things get worse." "You're not," the dragon said. "We're about to be." The woman tilted her head. "You would take me with you, without knowing what follows." He met her gaze, something reckless and unexplainable settling into place. "You seem like trouble," he said. "I have a history with that." There was a pause, just long enough to feel like it might repeat. Then she smiled, properly this time. They did not leave cleanly. The dragon launched from the fractured hull with a force that bent the nearby light, its wings carving through vacuum like it had somewhere urgent to be, which it absolutely did. The man barely had time to secure his grip before the woman stepped onto the saddle behind him as if she had always belonged there. "This is not designed for three," the dragon complained immediately. "You're doing great," the man said. "I am doing overloaded." Behind them, the broken vessel did something peculiar. It seemed to fold inward, not collapsing, but reconsidering its own existence. Then it vanished, not with an explosion, but with a quiet absence that made the stars around it flicker in confusion. The man twisted to look. "That's not normal." "No," the woman said calmly. "That's them noticing." A line of light tore across the void ahead, precise and deliberate. Then another. Shapes emerged from the darkness. Not ships in the traditional sense, but constructs that looked assembled from angles that didn't agree with each other. They moved with impossible coordination, already predicting where the dragon would be. "Tell me those are friendly," the man said. "They are not friendly," she replied. "They look unfriendly," the dragon added. "I dislike them aesthetically." The first strike came without warning. Or rather, it came exactly when it was expected, just not where. Space twisted slightly, and a beam lanced through where they had been a moment ago. The man blinked. "Did we just?" "Yes," the dragon said, "and I did not approve it." The woman leaned forward, her hand lightly touching his shoulder. The air, or whatever passed for it here, tightened again. "Don't think too far ahead," she murmured. "They listen for that. I usually don't think that far ahead anyway." That explains a lot. Another barrage followed, faster, more precise. The dragon banked sharply, narrowly avoiding a lattice of energy that seemed to arrive before it was fired. Its wings strained, irritation growing. "They are cheating," it declared. "I am the only one allowed to cheat." "They're predicting us," the man said. "No," the woman corrected softly. "They're correcting you." That did not sound better. A pulse grazed the dragon's flank, not burning but distorting. For a split second, its scales appeared out of sync, like multiple versions of them trying to exist at once. "I did not enjoy that," the dragon said, deeply offended. "Sorry," she said, almost absently. The man turned his head. "You said they're correcting us. What does that mean?" "It means," she said, watching the shifting fleet with unsettling focus, "that to them, we are the mistake." "Rude," the dragon muttered. The constructs adjusted formation, closing in with terrifying patience. There was no rush, no wasted motion, just inevitability tightening its grip. "Any brilliant ideas?" the man asked. "I have several," the dragon replied. "All of them involve being somewhere else." She exhaled slowly. "Hold steady. That's usually when things go wrong," he said. "Just trust me." He hesitated for half a second too long, then nodded. "All right, but if we explode, I'm blaming you." "That's fair." She moved her hand slightly, fingers tightening, not on him, but on something unseen. The stars ahead seemed to blur, not moving, but rearranging their priorities. One of the incoming constructs fired, and missed, not by distance, but by timing. The beam arrived a fraction too late, slicing through empty space that had already been abandoned. The dragon's eyes widened. "Oh," it said. "Oh, I like that." Another shot followed, and again it failed in the same subtle, impossible way. The fleet shifted, recalculating, growing sharper. "She's not moving us," the dragon realized. "She's moving when we are." "Please don't explain it," the man said. "I just got comfortable being confused." The woman's expression tightened slightly, strain creeping in at the edges. "This won't hold forever." "Define forever." "Not long enough." The dragon surged forward, taking advantage of the hesitation. For a brief moment, they slipped through a gap that shouldn't have existed. The man let out a breath he didn't remember holding. "Okay," he said. "New plan, we keep doing that." "That was not a plan," the dragon said. "That was luck wearing confidence." Behind them, the fleet reformed, faster now, adapting. The space around them trembled faintly, as if resisting her interference. She leaned closer, her voice quieter. "They're learning." "Of course they are," he said. "Why wouldn't they be?" The dragon glanced back, then forward again. "I would like to formally request an easier enemy." "No," she said gently, "you wouldn't." There was a strange certainty in her tone, something that settled deeper than fear. The man didn't fully understand it, but he felt it all the same. He tightened his grip, a grin breaking through despite everything. "All right," he said, "then let's make this interesting." The dragon snorted, flames flickering at the edges of its breath. "Finally," it said, "something worth complaining about properly." The first time he died, it surprised him. One moment he was laughing, actually laughing, because the dragon had just complained about being attacked in uncreative patterns. And the next moment, everything snapped into silence as a beam passed through the space he occupied. There was no pain, just a clean, absolute end. Then he was back. "You're not listening," the dragon was saying. He blinked, breath catching. The stars were in the same place. The fleet still closing. The woman still behind him, her hand resting lightly, almost carefully against his shoulder. "Did we just?" he started. "Yes," she said quietly. How many times? She didn't answer. Another strike came. This time he reacted faster, pulling the dragon into a sharp dive before the beam arrived. It missed by less than it should have. I did that, he said, startled. You remembered, she replied. The dragon twisted mid-flight, narrowly avoiding a collapsing distortion. I would also like to remember not dying, it added, if that is an option. It isn't, she said. The fleet adjusted again, their movements becoming unnervingly precise, as if each failure only refined their certainty. The space around them fractured into overlapping moments, versions of almosts, echoes of decisions that hadn't fully committed. He saw himself hesitate in one, charge forward in another, fall in several. That's not comforting, he muttered. It's not supposed to be, she said. Her voice was thinner now, stretched like something being pulled too far. He turned slightly, enough to catch her expression. For the first time, she looked tired, not physically, but fundamentally, as if the idea of her was wearing down. You're doing this, he realized. I'm trying. The dragon exhaled, slower this time. I preferred when I thought you were just strange, it said. This is significantly worse. Another impact grazed them, reality shuddering. For a moment, the dragon's wing existed in two positions at once, and it made a deeply offended sound. I refuse to have multiple wings without my consent. He almost laughed again, then stopped. The pattern was becoming clear, not because he understood it, but because he felt it. Every survival wasn't luck. It was chosen, forced, paid for. How long can you keep this up? He asked. She hesitated. That long, huh? The fleet closed in tighter, their forms stabilizing the chaos around them, undoing her work with cold precision. The possible paths narrowed. The echoes thinned. I can't hold all of them, she said softly. There are too many ways you end. Then don't, he said. She went still behind him. What? Don't save all of them, he continued, voice steadier than he expected. Just pick one, a good one. There is no perfect one. Good, he said. I've never been perfect. The dragon glanced back briefly. That is extremely accurate. She tightened her grip slightly, something shifting in the air again, but different this time. Not scattered, focused. You're asking me to let you die, she said. I'm asking you to stop trying to win every time, he replied. Just win once. Another strike came, faster than before. She didn't stop it. For a fraction of a moment, everything aligned, the fleet's prediction, the weapon's path, his position. It should have ended there. Instead, it didn't, not because it missed, but because they were no longer in that version of the moment. The world snapped, not outward, but inward, collapsing into a single, fragile thread. The fleet faltered, just slightly. Enough, the dragon surged forward with a roar that felt more real than anything else in the fractured space. I prefer this version, it declared. Me too, he said. They broke through. Not cleanly, not easily, but definitively. The constructs behind them hesitated, their perfect coordination disrupted by something they couldn't immediately correct. The silence that followed was different. Not empty. Settled. He exhaled slowly, tension unwinding in pieces. We made it. The dragon landed heavily on the nearest stable fragment of space it could find, wings folding with dramatic relief. I will be complaining about this for the rest of my life, it said. He smiled, turning. And paused. She was still there, but not entirely. The edges of her form flickered faintly, like a reflection struggling to remain. No, he said. She met his gaze, calm again, but softer. It worked. You said one path, he replied. You didn't say you'd disappear. I didn't plan to, she said. Time rarely asks for permission. The dragon lowered its head slightly, unusually quiet. I do not approve of this outcome, it muttered. He stepped closer, as if that could anchor her. There has to be a way. There isn't, she said gently, not from inside it. He clenched his jaw, searching for something to argue with, something to fix. For once, nothing came. You're going to be fine, she added. That's not the point. A faint smile touched her lips. It is actually. The flickering grew stronger, her presence thinning between seconds. You'll remember, she said, even when it doesn't make sense. I already don't make sense, he replied quietly. That's why it worked. The dragon exhaled softly, a low, rumbling sound. If you are gone, it said, who will correct his terrible decisions? She glanced at it amused. You will. That seems exhausting. It always was. He let out a breath that almost turned into a laugh, then didn't. So that's it. For now, the last of her steadied briefly, just enough. Live well, she said, Then she was, no flash, no sound, just a quiet absence that felt heavier than anything before. He stood there for a long moment, the silence settling around him. The stars looked normal again, but not quite right, like something important had been moved slightly out of place. The dragon shifted beside him. "Time smells wrong," it said. "Yeah," he replied softly. He looked out into the vast, steady galaxy, feeling something unfamiliar, not loss alone, but a strange certainty beneath it. He didn't understand it, not fully, but he didn't need to. "Come on," he said at last, climbing back onto the saddle. "Where are we going?" the dragon asked. He hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Forward," he said. The dragon snorted, wings spreading. "That is statistically where most problems are." "Good," he replied. And this time, when they moved, the moment didn't break. The galaxy did not congratulate him for surviving. It simply continued, as if nothing extraordinary had happened, as if reality had not just been negotiated into behaving. The man found that deeply offensive. "I feel like there should be applause," he said, guiding the dragon through a quiet trade corridor where ships pretended not to notice each other. "There was," the dragon replied. "You just missed it because you were busy not existing several times. That feels unfair. Reality is often unfair, also poorly organized." He leaned back slightly, letting the steady rhythm of flight settle into him. For the first time in a long while, nothing was chasing them. No distortions, no impossible angles closing in. Just space, calm and almost suspiciously normal. He didn't trust it. "Do you feel that?" he asked. "Yes," the dragon said immediately. "The absence of chaos. It is unnatural. I expect it to apologize." He smiled faintly, but his gaze drifted, searching for something he couldn't quite name. It was there, not a memory exactly, but a certainty that something important had been shifted out of reach. "You remember her," the dragon said, not as a question. "I do. That is inconvenient." "Yeah." They flew in silence for a while, which for them meant only 3 minor arguments and 1 complaint about navigation. Then the man slowed, frowning at a faint flicker ahead. "Did you see that?" "I see many things," the dragon replied, "most of them disappointing." "Know that." The stars ahead trembled, just slightly. A ripple, like something brushing against the surface of a moment. It lasted less than a second, but it was enough. The dragon went still. "I do not like when the universe twitches," it said. He leaned forward, heart picking up. "It's her. Or it is another problem that resembles her," the dragon said, "which would be very on brand for you." The space shimmered again, clearer this time. Not a distortion, more like a hesitation, as if time itself was deciding whether to proceed. In that pause, something formed. Not fully, not solid, but unmistakable. A silhouette. He didn't move, didn't speak. Just watched, afraid that even breathing wrong would break it. The figure flickered, long ears catching a light that wasn't there. She looked exactly as he remembered, and not at all like something that belonged. "You're late," he said softly. The dragon turned its head sharply. "You are talking to unstable air again." The figure tilted her head slightly, familiar in a way that made everything else feel less real. She didn't speak, not with words. Instead, the moment stretched and he understood without hearing. "Not back, not fully." "Figures," he murmured. "You never do things the easy way." The dragon narrowed its eyes. "If she is present, I would like to formally request an explanation that does not involve me dying repeatedly." The air shifted again, a faint pulse passing through them, not harmful, just precise. The dragon blinked. "I did not die," it said, surprised. "I appreciate that." He laughed quietly, tension loosening in his chest. "She's still fixing things," he said, "just from somewhere else." "Somewhere else sounds inconvenient to visit," the dragon replied. The figure flickered once more, then steadied just enough for a final moment. He stepped forward instinctively, though he knew there was nothing to reach. "You don't have to keep doing it alone," he said. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was deliberate. Then, faintly, impossibly, he felt it, a brief alignment like their timelines brushing against each other. Just enough for meaning to pass through. "I'm not alone." The ripple faded. She was gone again. This time, it didn't feel like an ending. The dragon exhaled slowly. "I have decided," it said, "that I will accept this situation as long as it does not become more complicated." He smiled, climbing back onto the saddle. "It's definitely going to become more complicated." "Of course it is." They lifted off again, the stars stretching ahead, not perfectly, but better. Stable enough to move forward, unstable enough to matter. He didn't look back this time. Not because he had forgotten, but because he didn't need to hold on to something that was still, in its own way, moving alongside him. "All right," he said, a quiet determination settling in his voice. "Let's see what's next." The dragon snorted, wings catching the light. "Next," it said, "had better be less fatal." No promises. They flew on, not chasing anything, not running from anything, just continuing in a universe that no longer felt fixed, but chosen. And somewhere between moments, just out of sight, time itself seemed to smile.